Sadistic Penguin Studios presents the At the Show podcast with Tom Yumper Garcia.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
And Tony Chalsa Burt.
I don't know this industry jargon, YP, MP, whatever, okay? All I know is that I cannot get a record contract. We cannot get a record contract unless I take these tapes.
It's almost time, so grab a drink, get your popcorn ready, and join the film discussion with two guys from Chicago talking movies.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the At the Show podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Tom Yumper Garcia, and I'm with my other co-host, Tony the Sugar Baggy Burt. How you doing, my man?
Doing good. Glad to be here tonight for another great episode.
We both had kind of like different little accents there. I was doing like a game show entrance, and you were doing like a little Latino entrance there, accent there.
Hey, happy to see you, George, my brother.
I thought you were gonna play. I can't hump.
Happy to see you, my brother.
We got an action-packed episode for you today. 3 weeks in the making, Tone.
Yeah, this is a yeah. I had to reintroduce myself on this one.
We're gonna be talking all things Harrison Ford. We wanted to plan this around the release of the new Captain America that just came out, where Harrison Ford actually plays the character of the Red Hulk. But unfortunately, my satellite for my internet decided to die that week, and then I had some family stuff I had to take care of the next week, so we took 2 weeks off. We did an intro to the mini show last week as our last episode, so if you want to check up on news and our Oscar predictions, you can check that out. And we moved it to this week. So better late than never. We are here to get this done and go into our favorite Harrison Ford films. Who is probably like one of the most iconic actors, I guess, of our generation. I mean, he's pretty old, but I think he's almost in his 80s now. But it's kind of crazy how long he's been around, man.
Yeah, I mean, he also got a little bit later of a start too. I think closer to than most. In his early, he didn't get started like in his early 20s. I think it was like more in his late 20s.
Yeah. Which is kind of crazy. It kind of reminds me of Dangerfield, how Dangerfield got started after his 40s, which is pretty crazy into comedy.
Well, it's always for anybody who wants to still do something when they're a little bit older that wow, you could still do it. Dangerfield did it. He did. I could sit here and talk about a lot of people that did it older when they were a little bit older because, sometimes you got to go through the trials and the tribulations.
Yeah, you always hear that saying that it's better to have tried and failed than try it all. So
that's true. Very true.
A little inspiration coming to you from the At the Show podcast here.
Yeah.
But Tona, let's get into our regular segment of what we've been watching, my man.
Let's do it.
That's a me. And also, what were you just watching?
What you been watching, my guy?
All right. I first have, because of our recent speaking of the sad passing of Gene Hackman, I decided to revisit some of his movies. And tonight I decided to talk about Get Shorty. A really, in my mind, different and cool and interesting type of mob movie that definitely does not skip on the humor and the comedy. It is full throttle humor. I always like John Travolta's name in the movie, Chili Palmer. Just really ridiculous performance by Travolta. Really great performance by Gene Hackman that I think when I was going through some of the his performances, this one kind of gets a little bit underlooked because it's a humorous that's really comical movie. Danny DeVito's great in this movie. Delroy Lindo is great in this movie. Our main man, James Gandolfini, he's got a great ponytail. is great as Machine in this movie. No, I'm sorry, I got confused with the Nicolas Cage movie where someone else plays Machine. I'm getting all confused, but this movie, back to this one, it's comedy, it's fun. It's pretty much Travolta is a mobster who is hiding out in LA, and he is trying to sell a script, and pretty much just runs into a who's who of ridiculous people in LA. And it's actually a really fun movie. It's one that I definitely suggest if you have not seen it. And if you're looking to honor the great Gene Hackman and have some laughs along the way, I know you have seen Get Shorty. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen Get Shorty, and I've seen the sequel, Be Cool.
There's no sequel. I've never heard of such a movie. Oh, there is a movie. Yes, there is. No,
It's kind of like the whole 10 yards. You know, remember that movie, in the whole 9 yards, the whole 10 yards.
Whole
Yeah,
nine
Get Shorty's
yards
a
is
classic.
whole 9 yards is so funny, and then
Yeah.
whole 10 yards is so bad. You know what's great in the whole 9 yards? Off topic, real quick, is Michael Clark Duncan, but we'll get to that at a later time. But great in this movie is Delroy Lindo and some of the side performances of like Gandolfini. The whole ending, the way it all kind of pans out. It's a fun, light on your feet movie that I think after Pulp Fiction, which was definitely a lot of more hardcore, it's cool to get a little bit more of a light on your feet, because I also like Analyze This, which is another good comedy mob movie. But then you got to Analyze That, which was again a little bit step into the non as funny category, but a good comedy along the way.
It's kind of crazy how Gandolfini, like, now that he's gone, he's been gone for, I think, was it 12? He's 13 years now. It's kind of crazy that when we think about him, you know, we automatically think of Tony Soprano, but he's been in so many movies that like I've grown up watching, and you realize, man, Gandolfini's in there. Like, he's in Get Shorty, he's in True Romance. You know, just small little roles that he's in the film with. I watched the movie the other day, Killing Him Softly, with Brad Pitt. He plays a small role in there as Mickey.
He sure does.
And he
Great
tries to
role.
hire.
Great
Yeah,
role. That's a great part.
Such a great actor.
You know, real quick, Renee Russo, she does a great job in this movie. You know, as you know, Hackman's girlfriend, I think, is to start, and then she starts to go with Travolta. But just the way Hackman, his ridiculousness in the movie is great. Just all around good comedy. If you have not seen it, I suggest checking it out. The other movie that I decided to talk about, because I've watched it so many times and I just watched it again recently through this last 3 weeks, is probably my favorite Van Damme movie, Time Cop. I find this movie to be actually a really awesome movie. And I'm not saying that Van Damme's other movies aren't super awesome, but to me, this movie doesn't really have the cheese aspect. There's some of it there, but it's not as high as some of his other movies where there's a lot of laughable ridiculousness, like Roadhouse type of comedy to the movie. I like the idea of the movie. I like the way he's able to go back and change some things. I also like that Ferris Bueller's girlfriend is the love interest in this. Mia Sarah, I think, is his wife in this movie. Great bad guy performance, which you need in any movie, but Van Damme's hair is also on top fleek in this movie, a great mullet. And to this day, you know, anytime I've ever worked out, I know you've talked about working out recently, you can't tell me that you don't want to do that scene when he's in the kitchen and they're all shooting and he jumps up with his legs and you're like,
I would die.
well, that's anyone would. And when seeing that, even when this movie came out, like seeing the trailers, it was like, holy moly, that guy can do that. But really fun, good popcorn action movie. I enjoy it quite a lot. It's Time Cop.
Yeah, it's actually, I think, his second most grossing film besides the animated ones, and besides Expendables 2 is Time Cop. It got really good reviews. Not my favorite Van Damme movie, but it's in my top 5. If Van Damme has top 5 movies, probably number 2. But it's a very, very good movie.
Well, it shows he could do good. He does not. Again, I keep saying like his other movies, he doesn't play the serious role. Another good one that I enjoy is the one where he is the what is it, Maxima? The one where he's the hockey games going on.
Sudden Death.
Yes, it's ridiculous in so many different ways, different than this movie. But I love Van Damme, man. So
I do too.
I just wanted to talk about some Van Damme with you. So
If you want to see like I know we talked about this, but like for people who are just tuning in for the first time or catching us up on episodes, if you want to see like a good Van Damme, like him acting as himself, there's a film that came out, I believe, maybe about 10 plus years ago called JCVD, which is kind of like a blur between his real life and as an actor in the series he's playing a part. It's actually really serious. Even Ebert gave him praise and said that he didn't know he could act as well. There was people who said that he deserved an Oscar nomination. I don't know if it was that good, but it was a good, it was kind of crazy seeing him step out as more of a serious role, which I really, really enjoyed. Um, but back to Mia Sarah, bring this full circle because we are talking about Harrison Ford tonight, and Harrison Ford, of course, was with Indiana Jones. Do you know who Mia Sarah used to be married to?
oh, I do, but it has slipped my mind at this moment.
She used to be married to Sean Connery's son.
Really? I did
Yeah.
not know. I did not know. I was thinking it was good. No, I did not know that. That's cool.
Yeah, and if you ever want to know who he is, if you ever watch George Lopez, he's the guy who becomes obsessed with Veronica, his niece, and he like sends him to her this big bear and all this stuff. It's just a stupid episode, but he's the bald-headed guy who falls in love with her. But yeah, that's me being a nerd with movies and and talking about this. Yes, Sam, we'll get into the Harrison Ford films. Don't worry. But the two films I watched this week was one that I loved when it came out because it was something different, because it's corny, but yet it's just something that like, it kind of reminded me a lot of like a comedy, but was supposed to be taken seriously, kind of blurring that line, and that was Starship Troopers, the Paul Van Houten movie that came out in '97, I believe, with Casper Van Dien. You got Dookie Howser in there. Of course, Denise Richards is like her starring role that made her big. You got Jake Busey, Clancy Brown's in it, Michael Ironside, just about basically giving a satire about how military uses people in propaganda. Uh, but it's so corny, it's good, and I really, really enjoy it, especially when they're just shooting the bugs or when the bugs just fuck people up. It's pretty crazy, to the point where I actually got the Funko Taker bug. I don't want to pull it down because it's somewhere back there, but it comes like this big old box with a tanker bug on it, and I think a grenade, which is kind of cool. What do you think about Starship Troopers, Tone?
Out of all the movies that we're talking about tonight, this is the only one that I can in this four that I can say that I got to see in the movie theater. And it's everything that you just said. It's an amazing movie. I always think of Michael Ironside's performance. He's a great actor in this movie. What I think about? I think about when Casper Van Dien, he was going to be the new Brad Pitt. Like he was going to be the guy, and then he was in Tarzan. He wasn't really in too many more things but this movie,
like a vampire or something like that too.
Yeah, this movie's great though. Great in so many ways. It's a very interesting overall, I think, plot. It's fun. It's also funny in some ways. Also great performance by Jake Busey. I mean, talk about Oscars. I mean, no, I'm just kidding. He shouldn't have got one. But this was a move, again, out of these four movies, again, I wish I had a tracker to see which one between Starship Troopers and Time Cop that my father played more, because they were played all the time. But Starship Troopers is great because it's original. And of course, Denise Richards does also another great job in this movie that kind of got her, people getting her noticed in many different ways before Wild Things, right? I think this came before.
Yeah,
Wild.
this is her. I think this is her first.
Yeah, first
starring film. Yeah,
starring film. But again, that's like how when you picked this, I rewatched it, and then I was like, "What's another good sci-fi one that could be like if we had a movie theater to play with it?" And I thought of Time Cop. So it was a good. It's a good movie, really. And Paul Verhoeven, Has a couple other really good movies that I enjoy in the sci-fi realm and non-sci-fi, but I do love Hollow Man. I think that movie's fun with Kevin Bacon.
RoboCop.
Oh, of course. I mean, that's without saying. Which again has great. In all movies, I literally look at the bad guy first, because to be a good movie, you have to have a convincing bad guy to me, and then the good guy's pretty vanilla usually, and to be an okay good guy, you just got to do or be the good guy who does some bad things sometimes, but to be a cool bad guy in Starship Troopers, the bugs are definitely a good bad guy.
Yeah, it's actually based off a book by Robert A. Heinlein. It's like a 1959 book. From what I've heard, like I've actually went and looked like reviews of the book. The book's actually a little bit different. Like the character of Dizzy in the movie is not in the book; it's for the movie. But I heard the book's actually pretty good, so I might actually think about maybe audio listening to it to see how it goes. But when I have time, so that'll probably be like in the next 5 years. But I would definitely have that on my list. I have a list of books I want to listen to or read. But the second movie I watched is a film that I saw as a kid, which is kind of hilarious. Uh, my family was big fans of Cheech and Chong. Cheech Marin was probably like one of our favorite comedians growing up. Born East LA is one of our favorites. But this is a movie that like me and my brother love to watch because it's just so random. It's called Shrimp on the Barbie, the Shrimp on the Barbie, where Cheech actually goes to Australia because he sees an ad on TV. He tells a story about how he sees an ad on TV and tries to make his way out there. He hooks up with the train man from The Matrix, who owns a Mexican restaurant, and he tells him he'll give him the ownership if he pays him $5,000 because he needs to help save his business. To where he decides to play a bad boyfriend of this girl named Emma Sands, who's trying to get Vernon Wells, who Mad Max and Bennett dating,
John, I'll be waiting for you, John Commando.
with his little sweater that was crocheted. Everybody thought it was armor until they realized it was a sweater. Um, Basically, so he can hate Cheech Marin and like her boyfriend Bennett, but there's a bunch of crazy wackiness in it. One of my favorite parts is when he actually does like sings the song with a mix of a bunch of the dances, the old 50 dances at the club where her parents have a party. Really corny, but just something I like to watch to throw on for noise. Have you seen this movie, Tone?
Oh yeah, great. I mean, it's I like yourself, grew up in a Cheech and Chong house. I mean, classic. Katie, it's funny because she had never really watched any of this until I showed it to her, and and that's and Katie, someone who has never watched these movies before, she finds them pretty funny. To be somebody who even like, especially Cheech and Chong's next movie, the second one, there's some really funny, and Paul Rubens is in there too. A lot of cool cameos, but they were ahead of their time. I mean, really, they really were. And honestly, something that doesn't get talked about that maybe I'll talk about one day on the Hookup on Music is their record output. They had some really amazing comedy albums. But back to the Shrimp on the Barbie, I mean, at this point, Born in East LA, this movie, it becomes a classic formula just to have a good time with Cheech. And honestly, a great Cheech performance, is Tin Cup. He does a great job in that, but nobody talks about him in that because he's so great in Cheech and Chong. So he's all over the place, and this movie shows a lot of that comedy of his.
Yeah, and he was in Nash Bridges. He played,
that was classic too.
But Tin Cup, I remember reading about it. I think we talked about it like a long time ago. Maybe Sam brought that movie up on one of our shows, but I remember reading it and saying that Cheech did not like golf until he actually went into the Tin Cup role, and now he's a avid golfer. The movie made him an avid golfer. But yeah, Cheech Marin, probably one of my favorites, comedians, actors. He's a side part guy. I know he's in Robert Rodriguez films now a lot as his little side roles. He was on George Lopez's show for a little bit.
Great From Dusk Till Dawn, 3 of the greatest roles right there.
Yeah,
especially the one in the club. He does it.
Yeah, Oh my god, I remember that part when I first saw that part.
Imagine being in the movie theater, sitting there with like like just your dad. You're just like 12 years old, like this. He's just in front of his club saying all that stuff, and you're like, "Who is that? That's Cheech." Oh, okay.
uh, Sam, you really never seen Tin Cup? Are you being facetious here, or are you just sticking to the Sam bit? But yeah, some of my favorite movies have come with Cheech in it, and you know we didn't have a chance to do at the mini show this week because there wasn't really a lot of news besides the Oscars coming out. But did you hear that they're gonna do they're thinking about doing a remake to Starship Troopers?
I have seen some rumblings of that. Yes.
What do you think about that?
You know what? For a movie like this, it's kind of the same way I feel like Gremlins. With today's technology, if you could pull it off correctly, or using the old technology but still enhancing the quality of it, you could have something. I mean, but because they made a bunch of bad sequels to this movie that were
Yeah,
straight to
maybe Rico will come back, but but I don't know if they can hold it to like the way Van Hoven did the original, meaning the satire. If it can be played in that way, then I'm all down for it. I just don't want it to be like versus like just basically Marines versus alien versus bugs. It's not because that's part of the movie, but that's not the whole message of the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like if
no.
they keep it to the core concept of what the message was of the satire, then I'm cool with it.
Yeah, well, I'm with you 100% on that front.
But that's what we watched this week. Let us know what you watched over on the YouTubes on Blue Sky because none of us are on Twitter anymore. But you can you can message us at the show pod on Twitter and
Do you
let
still
us
got to get
know.
the? Do you got to get the code still to like add accounts on Blue Sky? Is that still like that or
No, I think you just add one.
okay? Maybe I'll
Yeah,
come up with just a specific one for at the
for
show.
us. But moving on, guys, like I said, there was not a lot of news this week, but we did see the Oscars. We watched some last Sunday. I know me and you were texting back and forth. Were there any surprises for you, my man?
Not really. Not really, because honestly, between us and whoever was in the chat, what they were adding it all pretty much added up to, what I think was going to be, the picks. I think. How about you?
The only one that surprised me was the Zoe Saldana one. Um, I didn't have her winning right away. I thought she did well in that movie, but I didn't have her winning over Rosalenta in Conclave.
Oh
Um,
yes.
but I mean, she deserved it. I loved her speech. I was really happy that Adrian Brody won. I found it hilarious when he told them to turn the music off so he can
Oh
finish
yeah.
his speech. But like he's coming full circle again. A person, I love the redemption story. I know me and Sam were texting a lot during it. Honora cleaned up, man. They cleaned up big time. Uh, I saw a lot more people upset that Demi Moore didn't win, Tone, which surprised me because I didn't think she was gonna win.
I watched that. I gotta watch that movie again because I really was only able to watch like bits and pieces because I was doing other stuff in the background. Um, but again, I mean, Enora was the movie. I didn't realize I used to watch this pretty good show on FX a long time ago with Pamela Adlon called Better Things, and the daughter on the show was played by the Best Actress Oscar winner. Played her daughter on it, which I
Mm.
didn't realize that until I started researching as I watched this show, which I always love to do. It's like I didn't know she was this, and now she wins that. That's cool.
Yeah, and Sam says the Academy Award voters openly admitting they didn't vote for Ralph Fiennes pissed me off. Yeah, that's. I thought he was so good in that film. Like, I kind of secretly wanted him to win, but like I said when we had our predictions, it was either him or Brody, and I wasn't upset if Brody won because Brody did a great job in the Brutalist. But yeah, it's just ridiculous that they came out and said that um they didn't vote for him, which I don't understand why he was magnificent in the conclave.
It was great. It was just a very interesting movie that honestly, that's my point is this, and I'll leave it at that, is that in the same type of situations, I had Conclave, and then at another time in the same type of situation, I had Substance on. And Conclave got me to stop what I was doing and sit down and actually stop because I thought it was that good. When really, I didn't think that movie was going to do that. Where Substance would be a movie where I would think like, this could be cool. I'm gonna stop what I'm doing and watch this. But as I watched it, I've seen too many movies where they start to feel like performance art instead of a movie, and I'm not really fans of those type of movies, really.
Yeah, and this reason Sam gives out, I haven't heard this, but he says because they thought he had won before. That to me is the stupidest damn reason I've ever heard in my life. You don't vote on if they won before. You vote on the best performance, which to me is another reason why the Emma Stone win last year pissed me off so much because she didn't have the best performance. But if they're voting that way, then Emma Stone should have won last year because she won before. So the Academy voters sometimes they drive me nuts. Like I lost a lot of faith in the Academy last year. I also lost a lot of faith in when they for the when Will Smith won. Like I thought he was good in King Richard. I don't know if he should have won for that. But
Yeah.
then letting him accept the award after he smacked the shit out of somebody on stage was ridiculous to me.
Oh,
But that was just
it's so
stupid.
funny. For once, when I never have done this really, for a
Mm.
second there, I blanked out and I thought of the movie The King's Speech. And then when you said smack, I'm like, wait a minute, Colin Firth never smacked anyone. And then it was like Will Smith. Oh no, it's the Kings when he played the King guy. And then it clicked
Yeah.
what you were talking about. But no, that's the problem. The problem is that movie wasn't bad either, King Richard. But again,
No.
it's marred by controversy. What's the movie that was nominated this year that was marred by controversy?
Emilia Perez.
Yes. So like, controversy ain't a good thing.
But it won an Oscar, that movie. So
I mean, honestly, there's honestly a couple directors that, and producers work that you can't even mention because these people are such scumbags.
But my thing is like they didn't assault anybody at the damn Oscars, which is
no. But some of some really funny movies that I've ever seen are by like Woody Allen. You know what I mean? And he's been nominated and he's won Academy Awards for Best Picture. But can I go into like a movie studio and start talking about my love of Woody Allen? No, you can't do that.
Quasimodo predicted all this.
Pretty much, But that's the thing, is that as we've talked about before, you can the art could be soured, or you could try to separate it, or you ever watched it? It all really depends.
Yeah, I love what Sam says. Well, we already know he's winning. We can't ask him to leave. Lie, Sam. You can ask him to get the hell out of there. But yeah, that's our Oscar talk. We're not gonna drag this on. We just want to talk a little bit and see how our predictions did. I think we had everything right except the Sadala win. But that makes us experts, Tom. No, but
they're hiring us.
Let's move on to our main event, my friend. Let's talk about the great Harrison Ford, a Chicago man. He was born in Chicago. Tone, when was the first film you've ever seen of Harrison Ford?
Oh, wow. Jeez. I mean, I gotta say, if something else clicks before this, I gotta go with it. Has to be, I'll just shoot and say something like it's either gotta be Temple of Doom, Empire Strikes Back, right around something along those, because those are the ones that stick the most into my mind.
Yeah, same. Temple of Doom is probably the first film I've ever seen him in, which is a great segue into my first film that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah.
Let's get into it, my man.
Smolaram, prepare to meet Kali in hell. Oh, what are you doing? You fool! No!
1984's Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. He played the role of Dr. Henry Jones, or Mr. Jones, but by short round. Directed by Steven Spielberg, who did Lincoln, War of the Worlds, The Terminal, Catch Me If You Can, Saving Private Ryan, Schindler's List, Jurassic Park 1 and 2, just to name a few films. It also stars Kate Upshaw, Ki Hugh Kwan, Amish Puri, Roy Chow, which I totally forgot he was in this film. If you guys don't know who he is, yes, Oscar winner, Ki Hugh Kwan. Uh, Roy Chow is actually the master of Bloodsport.
Hmm.
Tiger Tanaka, he plays the bad guy in the beginning of the film.
I
He tries to get
like
the
mentally
yeah, he
now
tries to give him the
forgot
diamond.
about that.
Roshan Seth and Dr. Excuse me if I get this wrong. It's a very hard name. Dr. Nana Yakara. I'm sorry if I brutally butchered that. But it had a budget of 28 million and a box office of 333 million. This, like I said, is the first film I saw Harrison Ford in as a kid. I love this film because of the dynamic between Short Round and Harrison Ford's character. I thought it was really comedic when they're in the bug room and all the bugs are crawling on them, and he tells Billy, "We are gonna die," if she doesn't help him out. With there's the spikes, the bats. I just love the mystery of it, and of course, the eating scene when they're eating the monkey brains, the python. Of course, people were very upset about this because it wasn't culturally, you know, representative of the people of India, which I totally understand. But at the time, as a kid, I didn't understand. Like, I thought it was crazy that these people are eating this stuff. But you know, just a great villain in Amrish Puri. Uh, it has so many iconic lines. Kalima, the burning of the heart. Like there's some supernatural aspect to it, and all the Indiana Jones films have that kind of aspect in it. But this one just always stuck out to me, and I think it's because of Short Round and Indy's dynamic, man.
I mean, it's my favorite of the three. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was the one I've seen the most by far. And to me, it was like in the movie, watching it as a kid, it was like everything that you loved about being a kid. It was the adventure. I mean, Harrison Ford's just cool. I mean, he's not clean cut shade. I mean, he's jumping around, he's sleeping on a rock. He's all over the place. He's just trying to get through the situation, but he's doing it in his own. Oh yes,
Oh, getting called out, man.
that is true. But I don't. Which is crazy because you were very honorable to invite a whole bunch of people to go and see the last Indiana Jones movie, which was a good time, which I actually enjoyed that movie more than I think some other people did. But I even enjoyed 4. I don't know why I forgot about the other 2. That one is on me. I think I'm just really honestly, this is the only one that I think I like the Indiana Jones movies, but I love this movie is pretty much the roundabout for me. The short round for me.
King of Crystal Skull clears out. Yeah, I really love the part where he's like, what's his name? Mud, or the hell his name is climbing the trees with the monkeys. That part was cinematic gold.
Hold on a second though. Like when I saw that in the summer when it came out, I wasn't like, maybe I'm maybe we're different, but I was like, it was cool. I mean, I wasn't like, this is great, but like I and you're talking to someone who sat through Mr. Freeze and got almost thrown out of the movie theater because of how bad I thought it was. So like I can recognize awful really goodly, and that's not even a word.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, why?
But did you stop like enjoying the movie because of it, or was it
No, it's Indiana Jones, man. It's Indiana Jones. I'm not gonna stop enjoying it. I was just like, what is this? Like, it was just so out of place to me for an Indiana Jones film.
Well,
that part.
Well, I think what they were trying to do is like every Indiana Jones movie. Well, I think what it was there was a lot of blowback because of the second movie, of this movie, that people were upset that it didn't have the same flair as the first movie. And that's why the third movie tried to rekindle the same storyline, but in a little bit of a different way.
From what I was reading about this one, it was supposed to be set in Scotland in a haunted castle.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and this of course was written by George Lucas, and Steven Spielberg felt it was too close to Poltergeist, Also, they made this film a prequel. This is a prequel to Raiders. This actually comes first in the series, I would say. Of the film. Also because Harrison Ford wanted the actress of Marion to come back, Karen Allen, and Lucas, however, wanted Indy to have like a new girl every installment, kind of like the James Bond kind of like a Bond girl. So you had, I guess, an indie girl,
Mhm.
and they decided to bring Karen Allen back for the last film. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of closed it out, and then of course she came back in the last film, Dial of Destiny, as a way to kind of like cement their relationship. Uh, the Indiana Jones game is pretty cool. Have you played that at all?
The Indiana Jones, yes, I have. Just a couple times, not a whole lot,
Mhm.
but it was cool from when I played it.
Yeah, awesome graphics. It just came. I think it's free for Xbox Game Pass if you have it. Um, I've seen the Indiana Jones stunt spectacular at Disney World because I'm a cinephile. Yes, you definitely are.
The only time I
But
went to Disney World too, I saw that, and it was kind of cool.
I loved this is not, of course, this film, but MythBusters did the rolling ball
Yes, I see
and
that
the
too.
yeah, and the running from the poisonous darts of to see if it could really be done. And I think Adam Goldberg ran and did it, which I thought was kind of cool. I love this picture of him in this white
Oh yeah.
tuxedo coat. The opening was always interesting to me because it's Kate Upshaw dancing and singing, and they're at this club, and she said that she was so excited to be in this film because she could dance and sing, but her dress was so tight she couldn't move or it ripped, so she had to just kind of like move like a robot. And when I was doing more research on that, she was so terrified of the snakes. They had a scene with her with a snake, and she was having panic attacks. That Spielberg cut it out, and Spielberg jokes to this day saying the only reason she married him was because he cut that scene out.
Oh
So,
well.
but they're still together. Also, don't get your prenup on napkins like Steven Spielberg.
It's pretty just one of my favorites. Some of my favorite food is like chicken vindaloo, chicken curry. I love a lot of Indian dishes. But when I first saw this as a kid, as you said, you're absolutely right, because what it did was make people think that this is exactly the only thing you can get if you went to an Indian restaurant, which isn't true. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, because I always just thought chilled monkey brains was going to be the main thing, which as an 11-year-old, when you see the people opening up the brains, you're like, what? I don't want to eat this. But then you realize this is
Yeah, and just the fat guy. Oh, when they had the snakes, and he says, "I'm like, oh man."
that
But
is but
yeah,
that being said, you don't know that as a kid. And my favorite part in the whole entire movie is, I don't know how they pulled this, or Spielberg pulled this off graphically wise, and maybe you can cue me in, when he puts his hand in that tunnel to turn the thing and all those bugs are in there. I'll always remember as a kid trying to count all the different kinds of bugs that were in that hole, which I'm sure you used real ones because they did,
yeah,
or
they did.
whatever. It was
They
just
use real ones.
really a cool, excellently filmed scene.
Yeah, for the Bugs chamber sequence, Kate Upshaw was really covered with over 2,000 insects.
Mm.
She took sedatives prior to the scene to get over her initial fear and claimed they definitely worked. So those are real bugs. That's pretty disgusting. They're pretty big ones. But also I got some breaking news that MythBusters also did the fall from the canopies from Temple of Doom
Hmm.
that he did. So that's pretty cool. Uh, but yeah, Indiana Jones, classic film, classic series. To me, Harrison Ford and Harrison Ford's always gonna be known as Indiana Jones to me more than Han Solo. I think
Hmm.
that's just my personal preference. I know a lot of Star Wars people might get upset about that, but that's just me. But when I think of Harrison Ford and his iconic role, it's always gonna be Indiana Jones for me.
Well, I would definitely agree with you there. I mean, I think Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, like, as a whole, where it's kind of like, I hate to use music to describe this, but it's like Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl is Foo Fighters, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, where Nirvana is more of a sum of a bunch of parts coming together that he was a part of. But both great performances.
Yep, awesome performances. But let's move on to your next film, my man.
All right, let's do it.
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
1993's The Fugitive. He plays the part of Dr. Richard Kimball. The film was directed by Andrew Davis, who also did The Guardian, Under Siege, Holes, and the Steven Seagal classic Above the Law. It stars Tommy Lee Jones, who won an Oscar for this film, Julianne Moore, Stella Ward, Joe Pantoliano or Joey Pants, Andres Katsoulas, and Jerome Krabby. The movie had a box office of $368 million on a $44 million budget. Tell me why you picked The Fugitive, man.
I think like when we talk about Harrison Ford, there's like so many juxtapositions to his career. I think he is a great all-around actor. Like he can do so many different roles. This one is playing, a framed doctor who murdered his wife on the run, which is crazy because I just made me the connection between our next movie we're going to talk about, But that being said, he sells the part so well. And this is another movie that when this comes out, it was one of the first, we rented it and sat and I watched it. I don't know why I was allowed it, hold on a second here. I don't know why I'm 11 years old watching The Fugitive, but I am. But like, there's something about the movie that resonates with me. It wasn't like I was bored. It wasn't like I was like, what am I watching? It was like I was enthralled with the story of this man who is trying to not frame himself. And that whole scene where he is screaming at the doctor in the about Vyvanse in the boardroom or whatever.
Prolaxin.
Yeah, but there it is. That's what it is. See, I got him wrong. But Harrison Ford just does a great job at selling the part of what he's doing in this movie. Tommy Lee Jones does a great job too, but Harrison Ford carries this movie definitely.
Oh, definitely. Two things I take away from this film is, of course, the iconic fall. We just did the scene where he says he didn't kill his wife. The iconic fall into the water below from the dam. It's been parodied probably the most famously on The Simpsons with Milhouse and a Tommy Lee Jones character. But that is something that sticks out to me. And if you're a fan of Chicago sports radio, Mark Grody and his impression of Harrison Ford as Dr. Richard Kimball, he used to do it every morning when he would do this Bears beat or Cubs beat report. He still does it every once in a while. Now he kind of moved on to Les Grobstein, but his Dr. Richard Kimball, he does it hilariously like Harrison Ford. An iconic movie based in Chicago. It was based off, I think, a television series that came out, I think, in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. It was shot in 73 days and was one of the fastest post-production turnarounds in film history, which I think is crazy. Harrison Ford also damaged ligaments in his leg during this film and refused surgery so his limb could be authentic throughout the film. We'll talk about a trooper, And speaking of your boy Tommy Lee Jones, he said that no one would win awards for this film, even though he won both an Academy Award and a Golden Globe for his role in this film. So he didn't have much confidence in it. I love the whole makeup of this film is great, and of course, this film produced a sequel, not for the Harrison Ford character, but for the Tommy Lee Jones character when they had U.S. Marshals. And that was with, I believe, Wesley Snipes was in that film.
It is. And I remember being on this summer vacation, like it was like my mom and like her friend and took like me and like a son the same age, and like they dumped us at this movie theater, and the only movie playing there was U.S. Marshals. And it was all right. But again, You know who is cool in the movie though, and it's when he's like at his worst, professionally, is Downey Jr. does a good job. He's got a pretty good role in the movie. But again, when you're trying to replace Harrison Ford, and I love Wesley Snipes. I mean, Demolition Man's a great movie, but you're getting different vibes, and it was all about the Tommy Lee Jones character. And whereas in this movie, Harrison Ford, I believe, is in the driver's seat. And you try to say, like, um, it, not many people I think could have pulled off this movie either at this time.
No, I don't think a lot of people could have. They had a perfect cast for this film. It was perfectly cast, perfectly shot. It's kind of catching lightning in a bottle for this one to perfectly work out. Again, just a classic film. It's one of those films like Sam said, a goat of Chicago movies. Always a must watch. Yeah, whenever I see it on, I watch it. It's one of those films. Kind of like Shawshank. Whenever I see this one, I always just keep watching it, and I still laugh at the certain parts of it. But great action thriller, uh, good mystery. Just an all around good film. That's iconic in Ford's career.
Great beard he has in the beginning too.
Yeah, when he jumps out of the train. But let's go on.
One second. You ever see Wrongfully Accused with Leslie Nielsen? Where it's
yes. Okay.
He like jumps off of the thing. Okay, never mind.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I've seen that one. Is that oh my god.
All right, let's go on.
Let's move on to our next one.
First, I thought you knew that you created the whole ghost thing as some kind of an elaborate trap. Then I realized you believed it. It's a passive-aggressive masterpiece. First time I met you, all I ever wanted was to spend the rest of my life with you. What can happen now?
2000's What Lies Beneath. He plays the role of Professor Norman Spencer. It was directed by Robert Zemeckis, who also directed the Back to the Future films, Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Flight, and Castaway. The film also stars Michelle Pfeiffer, Catherine Tao, Miranda Otto, and James Remar. The movie had a budget of $100 million and a box office of $291 million. The reason I picked this film is because we went over our hidden gems of some horror films. This is one of my hidden gems of horror film. I talked about it in the 30 Days of Horror this year. I just love it because it's a total role reversal of what Harrison Ford usually plays. Usually he's the stout good guy or the badass or the hard ass, but in this film he's actually a deviant bad person that kills people and tries to claim it as a suicide because he gives them drugs to make it seem like they either drowned, like he did a woman who is coming back from the dead. Michelle Pfeiffer does a great job of being the person that's trying to figure out what's going on with their husband that she never knew was like this. And it kind of, I read a lot of true crime, and this kind of reminds me of like when, the serial killers have those normal lives and their spouses don't know what they did in their past life. And when it comes out, it's like a big shock. I thought Ford did a great job in presenting that kind of image in this film as kind of like a nice guy, and you find out he's a complete piece of shit. It's just excellently done. Underrated role for him. What do you think about this one, Tom?
Another very good movie that I was lucky enough to get to see in the movie theater. And Zemeckis pretty much crafts, like, in my mind, his own Hitchcock type of film, and does it very well. I laugh because I'm actually going to send him tomorrow a picture. My buddy, I remember when we saw it in the movie theater, there was a scene that we laughed so hard, and we shouldn't have laughed at all because it wasn't a funny scene. She's like outside, and she's like scared because it's like when she starts to finally start to feel something isn't right, and she's looking around, and she looks next door, and Remar's just like staring at her from the windows, like really like. It's just like him like staring, and for some reason we busted out laughing so hard in the movie theater, and like it's just a dead silent movie there because like that's James Remar, and he's, just but I like the way that then she tries to think it's Remar, and then it comes back around that, of course, it has to be, her husband. And, me and Katie always quote the part where they're like, she's starting to suspect somebody. Who? Your wife. And then like the ghost or whatever comes in. Just a really great movie. I like the way it looks. Honestly, I think the cinematography is great. On top of Harrison Ford's great performance, because like when she's down at the dock looking into the water and trying to kind of put herself at what was happening, I just thought it was shot to really great ability. And honestly, that twist is definitely Hitchcockian, and you can definitely see his homage to Hitchcock in the movie.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, for those who don't know, Zemeckis is kind of Spielberg's protege, and this film was out in 2000, and he already won an Oscar for Forrest Gump. So, like, Spielberg is his mentor. And if you notice in the first beginning of the film, within 10 minutes, there's like a little ET doll that's there, at the bureau that Claire finds, the character of Claire. And the reason it's in there is because one, because of course Spielberg directed E.T., but it also has a tie-in to Harrison Ford, which he did a scene in E.T. that was deleted, but it was one of the first Spielberg films he did which was E.T., and he had a deleted scene in there where he's actually asking Elliot a lot of questions, and I think he floats up in a chair or something like that. But Zemeckis put that in there for the hardcore fans and nerds like me. I thought that was pretty cool. But definitely a great, horror film, thriller, I guess, that's underrated. James Remar is awesome. I love when she thinks he's killing his wife and he sees her at the party
Yeah,
and he grabs his wife and starts yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's
That's
great.
good.
But totally underrated. If you haven't seen this one, definitely check it out. It's not super scary, but it's got a lot of tension to go along with it.
Yeah.
For you. But let's move on to your next one, my man.
It's all right, book.
Hey, watch it, Frank. He's going to hit you with his Bible.
Oh.
You're making a mistake.
Hey.
1985's Witness. He plays the role of Detective John Book. The film was directed by Peter Weir, who also did The Truman Show, Dead Poet Society, Fearless, Green Card, and The Way Back. It stars Kelly McGinnis, Lucas Haas, Joseph Summer, Jan Rubis, Alexander Gundolf, Viggo Mortensen, young Viggo Mortensen, and our guy, Danny Glover. The movie had a budget of $12 million and a box office of $68 million. Tone, tell me why you picked Witness.
Harrison Ford is amazing in this movie. If I could write a movie, this is the type of movie I would love to write, because it could be as super, super quiet, but to me, I think the last 10 minutes of the movie are like some of the coolest last 10 minutes of any movie that I've seen. It's got that same kind of feeling like a Tarantino movie could have. There's this raw shootout at the end of the movie that is really cool. And Ford just is really, when you watch a movie, when I've always watched a movie, which I think is the problem with a lot of the movies that I watch now, is especially these type of movies, is I could pretend to be a character, not necessarily Ford, maybe someone else, not even Lucas Haas, but one of the other like Amish people just kind of watching this and kind of feel the whole story. You can feel what's going on. Even the very beginning, the tension with Glover, where he's trying to find Lucas Haas in the bathroom, the music that is being used is very awesome 80s, I'm gonna call it, where it's like that synth that is like building and you're like, you don't know. And the way Harrison Ford puts himself out here, it's also cool to see Kelly McGillis in something totally the opposite, like a Top Gun type of role too, and put all of that together, and I think you just get a really awesome movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's a film that doesn't get mentioned a lot. This is the only film that Harrison Ford was nominated for an Oscar for best actor. Uh, to me, this is his best role, I think, in all his filmography. He was excellent in this film. It's underrated in terms that it doesn't get mentioned, but it's an exceptional film. Lucas Haas does a great job too for a young kid actor. Whenever we think about kids and actors and the Oscars and whatnot, we always think of like Haley Joel Osment, of course, Tatum O'Neal for Paper Moon. But this film, I think Lucas Haas deserved at least a consideration for a nomination. He was excellent in this film. He played the scared kid, great. I love this film because, you know, I've seen, the Amish, when I used to live down in Champaign, I had to take some kids to, Andersonville, Illinois, and there's a large Amish population down there, and we have this misconceptions of them or, this notion of what they are. Now I know there's TV shows and whatnot, but this kinda gives you, like, an insight into their world, uh, and you could see that he was uncomfortable first going into that world, and then he kinda grew on to, accept them for who they were, and they just kinda show why they are, especially the scene we played for the cold open for this, start of this movie when he's defending them and they tell him it's not our ways, and he goes, "It's my way." When they're
Yeah, oh,
making fun of him, yeah. He goes out there and just beats the shit out of that guy, breaks his nose, and then the old man tells on him like a little tad tell. But, he doesn't tell that the guys were putting ice cream in the, Amish person's face because they can't fight, they're pacifists.
yeah.
But him being an undercover cop, he wasn't no pacifist. He breaks that guy's nose and starts beating the shit out of him, and then they start screaming. But just excellently acted all around. I love Danny Glover as a slime ball in this film.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
big
yeah,
big
y
slime
yeah,
ball.
but it's just excellently acted, excellently cast. Uh, his best film, that nobody ever talks about, in my opinion. And there's another one you picked that I really enjoyed too, but he was very good in, but I think he was a little outshined. But this one, I'm so happy you picked this one because when I was thinking of Harrison Ford film, this even fell out of my thoughts of it, was Witness, and it's such a classic film that should be watched and talked about more, especially if you love, like, those police dramas. This is one of the ones that should be there for you.
Folks, I am going to shower some praise on my co-host here for a second. There hasn't been any time we've done the show when we've done a 5 and 5 that you haven't sent me the list. I didn't get excited by what I saw. And then what I did was try to fill in blanks that if two things. If you've seen it, I know you'd love it. And if you hadn't seen it, you'll watch it and you'll enjoy it. It's something along those lines. Like because we really do run a really close of what our enjoyances are. And honestly, it's a good movie that I brought up earlier that in my house we play, we were growing up, it was Time Cop and Starship Troopers, these loud movies. But then to like catch, my dad watching this movie and be like, he liked it just as much. And you say, why he probably liked this movie just as much is because Harrison Ford is awesome. You know what I mean? And the other, Danny Glover, I mean, you're a fan of Lethal Weapon, but then you could see him play a different type of character. That's why we go to the movies, my man.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Like, when you look used to Danny Glover playing that role of, in Lethal Weapon, it's kinda comedic, and then, he would move on to family films because he got tired of playing those characters, but he's a complete scumbag in this one.
Oh yeah, really, really
Uh,
good.
so I highly recommend you see this film because, it's very, very good. I haven't watched it in a few years. I don't know if you can watch it on Prime. It might be on Prime, but it definitely deserves more love than what it gets, than, it gets nothing, like, nobody ever talks about it, and it's like I said, it's his best film of his filmography.
Well, that's what we try to do here is we try to say it's on if you got Paramount, it's on
Mhm.
Paramount Plus. If you got Pluto TV, it's free. Check it out if you can.
You missed a little bit, Baloney, but we might be getting to some more later on. But yeah, check out Witness if you haven't seen it. Definitely worth your time and watch. Good pick, Tom.
Thanks.
Let's get into our next one.
Because that was the plan. I showed them how to scramble the records, cover their tracks. Everyone had a part. Mine was to leave. Then the blackout came, paved over everything. Couldn't have found the child if I tried.
Did you want to?
Not really.
Why not?
Because we were being hunted.
2017's Blade Runner 2049. He plays a role as Richard Deckard. The film was directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Dune 1 and 2, Polytechnique, Sicario, Enemy, and Prisoners. The movie stars Ryan Gosling, Ana de Armas, Jared Leto, Robin Wright, Dave Bautista, and Edward James Olmos. The movie had a budget of 150 million and a box office of 276 million. Now, the reason I picked the sequel over the original was I thought the original was awesome. I love Blade Runner, the original. I just really like the sequel more, in my opinion, due to the fact that Deckard, the beginning of the first one, the original Blade Runner, Deckard's he's basically the person that hunts the replicates. He's doing the Ryan Gosling role of he's trying to hunt a replicate. Malcolm McDonald's who's hunting in Rucker Hauer, who he's hunting in the film. And you never understand if he really is a replicate or not. And then this film answers that question, showing that he was a replicate. I love the fact that he plays kind of a person who has to hide from his daughter. They're looking for his daughter in this film. And he explains why that they never want to see her because he was being hunted as, kind of like a caged animal. And I love when he goes and Ryan Gosling goes to the little island he's at, and it's just basically like all these like holograms and whatnot, people dancing, and like he beats the shit out of Ryan Gosling there. And then they drink whiskey in a bar and talk afterwards. I thought he did a very, very good role. I thought Ryan Gosling was a great sidekick in this film. I love the fact they brought back Edward James Olmos for his small part as Graf. I'm a really big fan of the Blade Runner series, and I know there's a series coming out with Michelle Yeoh that's going to be in it. I think it's going to be, I don't know if it's on HBO, but it's going to be coming out soon, that I'm really looking forward to. And Dave Bautista does a great job in the opening scene of this film.
I was going to start with.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm clearing her down there. I'm just rambling, but I really, really like this film. It's one of my favorites that was a sequel, and that's pretty crazy. Go ahead, Tom. Tell me why you think about this one.
It's well, first,
you change your number. I'm not going to be ignored, Dan.
I'm not going to be ignored. No, I'm just kidding. This being said, I think I like the second one. I don't know. I like the meanings of the first one a lot. There's a lot of deep meanings, and my favorite line in all of this series is actually Edward James Olmos's last line in the whole movie, where he turns back to him in the first one and says, how he says it. I don't want to mess up the line, but it's a really, really awesome line. And then in this movie, he goes and he's back, like you said, which is always cool when characters come back.
Yeah. Now I gotta think of the line though. He's like, too bad she won't live. That's what he said.
Yeah, he's like, he says something, and then the way he like pauses and says it, but like the way Edward James Olmos, his like eyes in the movie are like really, I think he's probably my favorite character in that.
Yeah, I always thought he was a replicate too.
That's what's weird about the movie, is because in this movie too, is Harrison Ford, right? I mean,
it's kind of confirmed he is, because he says he was hunted. But but you don't know who really is, because Ryan Gosling is one, and he doesn't realize he's one. And then when he starts to realize that, he starts failing his authentication tests, where he goes through, like, they ask him a bunch of questions in a row, and he starts failing that. But yeah, his famous line is too bad she won't live, but then again, who does?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But yeah, he's excellent in this film too, and I love the fact they brought the origami back, where he does little the sheep origami for this one, and then the previous one he did the swan. it's both films are beautifully done. I think that the director of this film, Villeneuve, did a great job, of bringing back the essence and feeling of the first film uh, that was done. And I like both of them. I just prefer this one a little bit more. And I thought Ridley Scott's film was excellent. I just like this one a little more updated. Um, yeah, Baloney says Han shot first. By the way, Dennis Villeneuve is awesome. Yes, he is. He's a great, great director. Uh, so the Sicario films are probably some of my favorite ones I like to watch. Dune 2, beautifully looking. I didn't really like it too much. It was kind of boring to me, but to each its own. But yeah, back to this one. This one, Blade Runner 2049 is my favorite of the series. Hopefully, the TV show is very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, a great movie. It was great to see it on the big screen again, visually amazing. Um, and the Ridley Scott one is the one complaint I will have, I guess, there's a little slow parts in the original one, which isn't bad to have slow parts, but this one, it has a good pace.
Yeah, this one has a good pace. I like the original a lot. I remember I watched it. I watched the original way after it came out. I watched it on a recommendation from somebody from when I used to work on Menards. This guy we used to call uh, Pal Jack Paul. He was a weird guy, but he recommended me watch Blade Runner, and I went and watched it. I bought it, and it's one of my favorite films, which is why I was so excited when this one came out. But if you haven't seen them, they're definitely a great sci-fi series to check out. It makes you think a lot. The first one is totally 80s, but decent graphics that still hold to today. Rucker Hauer is awesome in that film as a replicant he's chasing. Like I said, James Olmos is crazy in that film. And then you got the more updated version of Ryan Gosling, who I think is tearing it up in Hollywood right now. And then you got creepo Jared Leto, who is creepy in real life and creepy in his role in here. So it kind of, art portrays real life. And Dave Bautista shows off his acting chops, really, really well in this film. So check this one out if you have it. I believe it should be on HBO Max, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I really, really love the Blade Runner series. But Tone, let's go on to another film you picked, which is a deep cut, man.
What's the money for? I was thinking guns. I was thinking IRA.
I need that money, Tom.
Why? So other 8-year-olds can watch their father's gun down in front of them?
1997's The Devil's Own as Tom O'Mara. Directed by Alan J. Polka, who did The Pelican Brief, Consenting Adults, See You in the Morning, and All the President's Men. The film stars Brad Pitt, Margaret Collin, Ruben Blades, Trent Williams, George Hearn, and Mitchell Ryan. It had a budget of $90 million and a box office of $140 million. Tell me why you picked this one, man.
When I start to think of why I picked this, I think of even why I am the way I am. And it's because, like, me and 4 friends would just get dropped off at River Oaks Mall, and we were only in, like, 7th grade, which is crazy to think about our parents, because now no kid should be dropped off probably at the mall in 7th or 6th grade by themselves with no parental guidance. And we would just walk into the movie theater, look up at the thing, and be like, we're going to see this movie here. And this is one of those movies that we did. And at this time, of course, it's definitely a movie where you get to have 2 different juxtapositions of actors working together in a pretty solid storyline. And Harrison Ford, again, there's no movie that Harrison Ford really he only makes things better. Even with bad accents, it doesn't really it's Harrison Ford, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's Brad Pitt's accent's not the greatest in this film, but I give him credit because he did such a great job in Snatch with the gypsy accent, and he actually was practicing, and he went to Belfast to learn the accent. But while he was there, he got he got physically attacked.
Ooh.
But he said it was worth it learning the accent. He gets a little people catch hell for this one because of his accent. The crazy thing was this film,
But to
I
be
thought
fair, like how many people? To be honest, how many people
uh,
do you think it's the last time they've sat down and watched this one?
yeah, a long time ago. I haven't seen this
I
in
mean,
years.
even people like, oh, bad actor, they haven't really like sat and watched it. All they
Yeah.
know is he has a bad accent, which is like we'll go back to some movies later and talk about good movies with people with bad accents. Guy just won an Oscar for a movie that generally used AI for some of the dialogue in it, which is kind of crazy when you think about it, because they used no AI in this. It was just Brad Pitt trying to be Irish.
Yeah, and while Pitt's Irish accent was widely criticized in Hollywood, many Irish viewers actually rated his attempt more favorable than other poor imitations.
Oh,
So there you
oh,
got that. But
there you
that's a little note for you. But it's crazy when I was doing research for this film, Tom, because this film is very, it's underrated. And I know we said that a lot about the films that we mentioned, but it's not that bad in terms of storyline. And Pitt really did not like this film. He said the first script that he read, he loved it, and then it kind of got discarded, and he tried to bow out because he said the whole filmmaking process was just a complete mess. And if this was a mess, I mean, what was it when it was great? It must have been like the fucking godfather of IRA films. You know what I mean? Like,
Godfather.
because this film, like, it's not a bad film. I actually enjoyed this film. Uh, and I don't really care about the accent. It's not his best, but like I said, I can appreciate him trying and actually, he's a true thespian. He tries to perfect his craft. So I'll never, I'll never say he isn't. Sam says you need to talk like the Lucky Charms guy or go fuck yourself. Uh, I guess. I mean, but his accent was a little better than Lucky Charms guy. But it's a great film.
Well, I mean, like when now that you start to think about it, I mean, Warwick Davis is British. Is Leprechaun? Is that?
No, John Leguizamo's Irish accent in The Pest is the best of all time. If you haven't seen that, when he goes, "Fashalai, ha ha ha." But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I just something that I know was when this film came out, people were like, "Oh, his accent's so bad," and I watched it. I'm like, when I watched it, I was like, "It's not that bad, but it's not great."
Well, it's
But
funny. It's funny in a way. Like when you put that clip right there, you got Harrison Ford being Harrison Ford, and then he comes in and goes, "Well, Tom," and then it's the problem is that when this movie came out, we didn't know who Brad Pitt really was. We didn't have the Ocean's movies, and we didn't have Angelina Jolie. Now, when you hear it, it's even kind of maybe could be even more humorous.
well, I
But
mean, you
it's still
had
a
like
good movie.
California came out. That movie was out.
Well,
He
his
was kind of
accent,
known.
that's
Yeah. He was
ridiculous too.
kinda known, but, like, he made 12 mil for his film, so he was kinda up there, but nowhere
That's
near
true.
the
That's true.
20 million that Harrison Ford made.
That's true.
It's just, there was fights that were rumored, um, and there was kind of like, they were saying that Pitt and Harrison Ford didn't get along, but, they both came out and said that's not true. It's not like, Hollywood Homicide with,
God,
Harrison Ford and,
Josh
what's his
Hartnett.
name? Josh
Josh
Hartnett,
Hartnett.
where they
Oh
said
my
that
god.
Harrison Ford did not like working with Josh Hartnett at all. He called him a punk kid or something like that. But, yeah, if you haven't seen this one, check this one out. Uh, Sam says cancel them over their accents stay woke. Yes, goddamn right, Sam. But, underrated film, Tom. Just, again, The Devil's Own, totally underrated film. That's all I can say about it. Let's move on to our next one, man.
I did not sign up for this. This is somebody's bullshit political agenda. Who authorized this? Cutter?
Cutter couldn't tie his shoes without permission.
If I go down, you're going with me.
Wrong again.
Clear and Present Danger, a film that was released in 1994. He played the role of Jack Ryan. It was directed by Philip Noyce, who also did Salt, The Quiet American, The Saint, Blind Fury, and another kind of like sequel to the series is Tom Clancy's Patriot Games. The film stars William Dafoe and Archer, Joaquin de la Media, and Archer. Or I said Archer. I put it in twice. Man, horrible notes. Henry Senzeri, Donald Moffat, and Benjamin Bratt is also in the film. The movie had a budget of 62 million and a gross of 215 million. Uh, I love this film because one, he plays Jack Ryan, a Tom Clancy character. We all know Jack Ryan from, went on to be in more of the other films in the future. I think we have a TV series on Paramount that's now you had Alec Baldwin playing him, Ben Affleck played him, Chris Pine played him. So it's a pretty big character. And yeah, C. McD says great bit part for William Dafoe. Yeah, he could have been his own movie spinoff. I really like the film. It's again a drama with some action in it. Harrison Ford is always like awesome in a way. He's a stout, he plays a stout, strong man, and like he says when he throws this guy against the wall, "Is your bullshit?" His accent always cracks me up. His own accent. Great storyline, kind of about the CIA doing shady shit, and him to try to have him take the blame for it. Just an all around good film, good story, and a good adaptation of the book from Tom Clancy. What do you think of Clear and Present Danger, Tone?
Well, earlier he's in Get Shorty, but I wanted to bring up the amazing Miguel Sandoval, who does an amazing job in this movie. There's some really great parts. The line that I started laughing because I just thought of it when we were talking about it is when he's in the office with like the president towards the end, and he's like, the president's like, "Excuse me." He's like, "No, how does he say it?" Like they have that screaming back and forth
Yeah.
between, and it's like that's Harrison Ford right there. I mean, like Harrison Ford could put his stamp on anything, and that's honestly why I believe that even if people say that, let's say the new Captain America is not the best, it is going to be fun because at the very least, when Harrison Ford's on the screen, you're getting Harrison Ford. That's what you're getting. You know what I mean? And honestly, even in some of his worst roles, he's still Harrison Ford. I can't speak for Hollywood Homicide. I've never seen that movie, but this movie is solid. This is one of those movies that I remember like recording off of like TNT, like back in like 97 on like a VHS tape. And then like I tell my friends, "Look, I got the movie Clear and Present Danger." But it was only because I recorded it off the TV. I mean, just a great all-around movie. A lot of good performances. Defoe, sneakily great performance in this movie. When we had our Defoe episode, we did not mention this one as one of the main ones where it's again another one sneaks under the radar. Just really good.
Yeah, John Clark, he plays the role of John Clark. Just great small roles in this film. Again, it's a drama slash action. It has some action when they go in. It's a really, really intricate like plot and elaborate. So you have to go. I don't want to explain it here because it just take too long. But it's a good film. It keeps you guessing. It keeps you wondering why things are going on. And Harrison Ford playing that guy who's been screwed over, and he's like, "Yeah, fuck that. I'm not gonna be screwed over." It's such a great role for him, and his ambiance, his presence to this film, just makes it great. I really liked him in this film. I liked him in, the sequel Patriot Games. Uh, I really liked him in that one as well. And then the predecessor to this film is The Hunt for Red October, which is when Alec
Patriot
Baldwin.
Patriot Games came before this one too.
Oh, I'm sorry, Patriot Game. Yeah, Patriot Games before us.
And Hunt for Red October. So
Yeah. The first one came. I liked him, and the character of Jack Ryan in all three of those films, but I think I love Harrison Ford as Jack Ryan.
What about the Ben Affleck one? You like the Ben Affleck one?
That's a Sum of All Fears, right?
Yeah. I've never seen that one.
So I have a funny story about that film. Me and my girlfriend at the time in high school, we went downtown. It was me, her, my brother, and my cousin Whitney. And Whitney and my brother are around the same age. She's like basically my little sister. We went downtown, and this is like when I was in high school. So they're maybe my brother's 5 years younger than me. We go down there, and it's like my senior year, and we just went like window shopping and stuff like that, and they wanted to go see a movie. So I forget where we went, but the theater we went to downtown had one movie playing, and it was The Sum of All Fears.
Oh.
And we watched it, and I was like, "Man, this movie's crazy." And my brother and my cousin were like, "This movie was horrible. Like, why'd you make us watch that?" I'm like, "Hey, you guys want to see a movie? We saw this one, and it was
This is
some of
what we had.
yeah."
This is what we had.
But I that's like my Son of All Fears story. That's probably the last time you hear me talk about it. Tony says, "I thought Ford was going to mail in his Thunderbolt Ross performance in Captain America. He did not. I thought he was good. He never mails his performance in. Even in Hollywood Homicide, he didn't mail it in. It was just really a bad film."
The one movie before we move on that I probably, if I had to go back, I should have added to the list, and I probably wouldn't have put The Devil's Advocate because I had already given you the list, which is crazy because I had 3 weeks to change it and I never did. Was going to be Air Force One, where he played the president. But then when I realized after the fact is that with our list, I try to do a bunch of different things. And this movie seemed to be really close to like Air Force One. And again, this movie is just a great performance by Harrison Ford.
Yes, sir. Another great performance. And the next one you picked is another deep cut, but yet great performance by him.
The most damning testimony comes from an abused and frightened child who overcame his fear and his pain to tell you, in his own words, what really happened. If you were to remember nothing else as you begin your deliberations, remember Wendell's words. My mommy hurt my head.
1990s Presumed Innocent. As Rusty Sabik, the movie was directed again by Alan J. Pakula, starring Raul Julia, Greta Sachi, Brian Dennehy, Bonnie Benlita, John Spencer, and Joe Grafasi. The movie had a budget of $20 million and a box office of $221 million. Tell them why you picked this one.
The twist at the end is an amazing twist in the movie. But overall, you get to see Harrison as a lawyer being framed for murder, which definitely is different than Han Solo, who, well, they did try to say that he shot a certain amount of time. But that being said, the way the acting and the way the movie unfolds, they just came out with it was on, I think it was on Apple. It was a television series that was based off of this movie. And it wasn't bad. But again, Harrison, man, I mean, he brings a movie that is serious. I mean, again, he's either, if you think about some of our movies we picked tonight, he's either been a murderer, being accused of being a murderer, trying to take down the murderers, and honestly, he does all of them to great satisfaction, I think.
I totally agree. It's crazy. He was a lawyer in this film. I thought this film was very, very good. But when remember I mentioned earlier, the deep cut you picked, I think he was a little outshined in this film by Raul Julia.
I know you were going to give Raul Julia some love, and I love Mr. Raul Julia. Raul Julia does a good job in this movie too. I think for me, the whole movie, again, kind of rewinding back to Witness, is I think this whole movie it's a movie you have to watch a couple times, but the last 5 minutes when it all comes together, it's like a Shutter Island type of moment when you realize what's been going on the whole entire time. And the way he finds out, and the way, what do? You know what I mean? What goes on from that last frame of the movie? And that's kind of where, if you are somebody who watches a lot of movies, you could sit on the couch after the movie ends and rolls, and you go, well, what happens? And then you could draw your own conclusions in your mind, because you never really find out what that conclusion is in the film version.
Yeah, definitely. Great twist ending. Another unknown gem from his filmography. Uh, Raul Julia does a great job in the film, like we said. You know, it's sad because we lost him so young. I think he was like barely 50 when he passed from cancer.
Street
And
Fighter.
yeah, Street Fighter was his last role. Actually, he was 54 when he passed. Great Broadway actor and great actor in his own right. And some will say even as bad as Street Fighter is, like his performance in his role was the best part about it, and I totally agree with that. Uh, just a great, a wonderful actor that was lost way too soon. But I really liked him getting, his bouquet of roses here because a lot of people actually call him, the standout of this film. But Harrison Ford did an excellent job as the lawyer, Rusty Sabek in this film.
Right around the same, like a year earlier, he's in a movie, Raul Julia, with our boy Kurt Russell and Mel Gibson, Tequila Sunrise. He does a really good job in that
Yes.
movie too, playing Xavier Escalante. He's a great actor, and you say with actors like him, how many roles did he leave on the table not being here anymore? Back to Harrison Ford playing a lawyer, a really, really, really deep cut that I almost picked. It's a very sad movie, but it's called Regarding Henry, where he pretty much loses everything in his mind, and he's a lawyer and pretty much has to restart from the beginning again. Harrison Ford could play again lawyers, murderers, everything in so many different regards, and I think that is why we're honoring him here tonight.
Yeah, it's a very, very versatile actor. Good deep cut picks, Tone. There's not much more I can say about it. There's tons of notes for these films too. I know we didn't really get to all of them, but when I dropped the episode on the website, check them out because I think there's 30 pages of notes just for little tidbits here for these films. But let's get to our final two, my man.
All right.
Sir, Commander Skywalker hasn't come in the south entrance. He might have forgotten to check in.
Not likely. The speeder's ready.
Not yet. We're having some trouble adapting him to the code.
We'll have to go out on Tauntaun.
Sir, the temperature's dropping too rapidly.
That's right. My friend's out in it.
I'll cover Sector 12. That's until Sector Alpha.
Your Tauntaun will freeze before you reach the first marker.
Then I'll see you in hell.
Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. In 1980, this was released. It's directed by Irvin Kershner, who did RoboCop 2, Never Say Never Again, Eyes of Laura Mars, and A Luck of Ginger Coffee. The film stars Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, David Prowse, James Earl Jones, Alec Guinness, and Frank Oz. It had a box office of $550 million on an $18 million budget. Of course, we can't talk Star Wars, Harrison Ford without talking Star Wars. We did a deep dive on the Star Wars trilogy a few years ago with Terezi as a guest. I mentioned that The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars of the original trilogy. And that's because it's one of the films that first introduced me to Star Wars. I kind of watched them backwards from there. But Empire is everybody's, like, that says that's the best one of the series.
The Last Jedi, you mean?
Return of Jedi. Return of Jedi.
You worried me there for a second.
No.
You're like, I started
I like
with The Last Jedi. I'm like, did you just start watching this?
No. I like the Return of the Jedi, Last Jedi. But Return of the Jedi, of the original three. But I would say Harrison Ford's acting in Empire Strikes Back is better than the other two. Just a classic film when they start off on Hoth, that you see him being hunted by Boba Fett, him being turned into the figure after he's being hunted by Boba Fett and turns into the figure that Vader lets him go in, continue to pay his debt when he could have paid it if he just went and paid, but he's too busy being in love with Layla, even though she was kissing her brother. But just an all-around classic film. You got iconic characters like Yoda in here. You have Billy D. Williams in here. Just a magical sci-fi like masterpiece by Lucas. You can see why so many people love these films. Whenever the Empress tells me I love you, I always reply, I know. You know what, Bologna? I was gonna have that as the cold open, but I decided to go with the one where he goes, I'm gonna see you in cold and hell with his tauntaun. Wah, the tauntaun sound may always be like. Yeah, most operatic episode. I totally agree. It's just it's art. It's the best of the three, in my opinion. Just not my favorite because of personal choice, but in terms of quality and story, probably the best of three. And it also has one of the biggest reveals in movie history with "I am your father."
Oh,
You
you
know,
just gave it away. I never seen.
yeah. But it's a classic film. Tone. So talk some Star Wars with me, man.
All right, let's get started. I'm trying to think of what's something we can talk about that probably has never been talked about. Let's talk about the awesomeness. You brought him up a little while ago. Billy D. Williams, Mr. Lando Calrissian, his introduction to the whole entire movie, and pretty much just the interaction when they first meet up in the movie between Harrison Ford and him. It seems to be like two of the bestest friends who haven't seen each other in the longest times, and then next thing you know, you're being screwed over pretty quickly by the same friend that is you're watching the movie. So that's
Lando.
What's really what's the word I'm looking for? The juxtaposition to the character of Lando doing that to Harrison Ford. I always thought seeing it for the first time at 7 or 8 or 9, and just the whole Cloud City, the way it looked, I thought that was just shot really, really cool.
Yeah, totally. I thought Lando was an asshole, and I always thought it was hilarious when he lets them take Han, and then he basically takes them away, and then like tries to become a good guy, and Chewie starts choking the shit out of him. That part always
Yeah,
made me laugh.
that is a good part.
But the funny part is, like, I sent this to Chirizi too. Like, the character of Chewie, when he talks and like they respond back to him, in English, but he's talking in Wookiee. Uh, the guy who plays Chewie is actually talking in English, and like there's all the roars are like dubbed in. And it's if you listen to, you can find it on YouTube. He's Peter Mayhew is actually talking like, "Oh, there's something wrong with this thing," and they're responding back to him. But it's more funnier, I guess, with the roar of the of Chewbacca than anything. This is also what had say, "Hey, Will, I have it paused the cloud place with the Robo head guy. It's a trap."
What?
Yeah.
And I had to go through and make sure I said this correctly, so I wasn't so Sam didn't. Out of the 12 Star Wars movies, this one is this one's my favorite.
Yeah, it's not it's my second favorite behind
The Last Jedi.
behind Return of Jedi.
I know, I'm just kidding.
But it's an excellent film, man. There's like so much trivia for us, and we could do like a show just on trivia alone for
Well,
Star
that's
Wars.
when we do these shows here, I feel like it's like you're honoring a band member. But then at another date, we can honor the whole band, which is the whole movie. You know what I mean? And that's what we could just talk about the clouds and the Cloud City for 20. You know what I mean? Like there's so many cool things about this movie to talk about, which I'm sure at a later date we'll dig even deeper.
Yeah, and just a couple little tidbits here to kind of, feed that notion of wanting trivia. Sir Alec Guinness hated Star Wars. He hated it. And of course, he plays the iconic role of Obi-Wan Kenobi. There's been stories of people coming up to him. I know there was one story of a person coming up to him and telling him, "My son worships you." It was a lady. She's like, "My son worships you. She loves you in all those films." And he's like, "Ma'am, I feel very sorry for you." And that was his thing. He hated the role. And for this, scene, he does a scene where he comes back as the ghost, as the Force ghost, and he's with Yoda, and it's like iconic scene where he comes back, but he did all his scenes in a single day of filming. He arrived at 8:30 a.m. and finished the scenes by 1 p.m. And he was paid a percentage of the gross.
Wow.
So he got paid for it, but he hated doing Star Wars, which I thought was quite hilarious.
It is.
And also shout out to James Earl Jones, who passed recently,
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Darth Vader voice and the iconic voice. We see this first introduction of Yoda, with Frank Oz, and just like so many good things happen in this film. I still holds up today. And I think Lucas is still trying to, or they're still trying to kind of, I guess, catch lightning in a bottle of making Star Wars films like this. And I don't think they are ever going to.
The other day we were at somewhere, I think it was at a restaurant, and it was on the screen or whatever, the part at the end or whatever, and I told Katie, I go, this is how I feel like my week's going when he like falls in the hole after he said like gets his hand cut off. He just like falls backwards into the hole, and there's so many iconic moments in this movie. I mean, from the very beginning, all of the things taking place in the snow to the very end, and let's say the other ones don't have that same stuff. I will be honest with you, my dad's favorite one was Return of the Jedi. So like I grew up in a house where Jedi was the one that was the most hailed, but I like Empire because it's darker. I always gravitate to more of the darker movies.
Yeah,
I agree
Filoni
with that.
says if they can't make the Mandalorian movie work, they might as well stop. I have high hopes for that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
you know what, Baloney, but that's Jon Favreau. And I think Jon Favreau has kind of shown what he uses the essence of Star Wars, the nostalgia and that essence of the original stuff, and makes it into his own. And I think they've done a great job with the series. The only thing I worry about is, are they gonna put too much and try to, force too much into a 3-hour film? That would be better off in a series. Sometimes those series are better off than, films like The Many Saints of New York. I really liked that film as a series than a film. I thought they just kind of rushed it a little bit. I think as a series would have been awesome because you could flesh out those details. I hope that when Favreau does the script for The Mandalorian, I hope it's very, very, fleshed out and kind of works. Sam says, I grew up on The Return of the Jedi because my mom loved the Ewoks. I love the Ewoks too, man. I watched all their films. The Ewoks, the one with the 2 kids, then the other one. I watched the Ewoks films.
Back to
They're
Warwick
awesome.
Davis.
Yeah, it's Warwick Davis. Also, the guy from Big People, Little World. He was an Ewok.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I have faith in Filoni and Favreau. Yeah, man, I do too. I think Jon Favreau is another underrated director who really, really is, honed in on his craft. Even though he made remakes of The Jungle Book and Lion King, I thought he did a good job. Even though now they're remaking them again, I don't know. Disney just keeps fleshing out like remakes. I don't know what the hell's going on. But if you haven't seen Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, first question is, where have you been and what rock have you been living in? But it's definitely a classic, man. I mean, we can ramble on. I can ramble on about this forever. I can have Baloney come on and ramble on about it. Maybe we'll get him on and he'll talk about some Star Wars. Give us some Baloney. Baloney teaches Star Wars for us.
Would love it.
I'll have a segment of that. But definitely a classic film, and that's why it's my number 1 in the Harrison Ford films. Well, now we're gonna get to your last pick, Tone.
Round up the horses, get some supplies. We'll set off first light.
You're going with us. I need that weapon. It's the only thing that counts. I figure you owe me. I don't see it that way.
I'm not gonna lie, when you put this film down, I started laughing because I'm
What's funny is before you even say anything, you just talked Jon Favreau up on this huge hill. Okay, let's start there. You talked him up, huge hill. And then we're going to go through some of his movies here, and I know this is going to be one of them, where over half of his movies suck. So is he really that? And so is he really that good?
What are you talking about? We talk about Cowboys and Aliens,
sucks.
2011.
This
Dollar High.
Iron Man 2, a lot of people say sucks.
No, Iron Man 2 didn't suck.
Well, a lot of people say it does.
Sucks?
A lot of people say it does.
Well, a lot of people are
going
wrong
by what they say, and that's why I brought up this movie, because I knew you were going to bring a battle to it, and that's what I wanted.
I was not going to bring about. You see, you assume, and you know what assume does? It makes an ass out of you and me because I like this movie. It made me laugh when you brought it up for your last one.
Well, and that's why I got a little upset because I'm like, maybe I should have went with, Air Force One. I mean, maybe that would have been better for me to go
I'm
with.
telling you straight. It's my way or the highway. So anybody who wants to walk, do it now.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
The best cowboy aliens movie ever made. Sam saw this movie in the theaters and he enjoyed it. No, I like this film, but it's directed by Jon Favreau, who did Chef, Iron Man 1 and 2, The Jungle Book,
See-
The Lion King, Elf. He had a video game called Gnomes and Goblins. I didn't know, so I did a little research on that.
Sam, which is ironic that Sam says this because I thought of him because, well, I went with my dad and he was like, this movie's the greatest movie ever. And I was like, because you're with somebody who has those type of feelings sometimes, you're like, wow, this is like that thing you just played, wowie, wow. So like Sam's the type of guy that I could imagine any movie that if he would like it and I was with him, I'm gonna like it a little bit because it's just a fun time to watch a movie with someone who likes a movie as much as when it's not even the best. But this movie isn't as bad as it got.
No.
I think it's got that it got, but
No. I think
I
this
get it,
it
though.
just makes me laugh.
It's
Tony,
an odd concept. It's an odd concept for somebody to swallow. I mean, let's say that to start.
Maloney says the new side of the After Show podcast. I kind of like it when you guys disagree a bit. Tony's been trying to get me to disagree more and more every episode.
I like the fire. I need some. We need to stay. It's been a long week to stay awake.
Yeah, I feel you.
Fire.
But the cast of this film, Tone, you got Daniel Craig, Olivia Wilde, Abigail Spencer, who's, if you don't know, she's from Suits, Buck Taylor, Matthew Taylor, Paul Dano, Sam Rockwell, Clancy Brown. The movie didn't make $11 million over its budget. It made $174 million with a budget of 163. But they counted advertising and stuff. I probably lost money, but I don't think it's that bad of a film. I think it was a good, crazy concept. I enjoyed it. I thought it was wacky. I don't think it sucks, but it just made me laugh when I saw it. I'm like, man, Tone picked this Cowboys and Indians and Aliens. I'm like, oh, it's crazy, but I didn't expect you to pick that one as the last one. You picked, like I said, you went through all these deep cut films of Witness and Presumed Innocent and Devil's Own, and then you end off with Cowboys and Aliens. I'm like, damn. Tone's really out there for this one. That's why it made me laugh.
You know what it was? It was like what I was looking for was like, all right. And then at the end, you'd be like, you know what? I've just had enough. This movie isn't any good. And then we end up in a debate, which I love, which is exactly the reason, as Baloney said, I love that part of At the Show too, because it shows some humor. I mean, that's the thing about our debates. There's zero, like, it's all just trying to rile each other up.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's generally about movies. I mean, that's
pushing buttons, but I mean, we're friends. It's about pushing buttons.
Yeah.
McD says better than John Carter. You know what? I've never seen that film.
Honestly, another one that I went with him to see, and he's like, "This is a great movie," and I'm like, because after it was bombed, but like, you know what? Again, that's what I've learned with movies. Sometimes it's about the experience, and with Cowboys and Aliens, Daniel Craig does a good job. Paul Dano does a great job, and honestly, it's just an all around, I think, different. I mean, look at all the movies we've talked about tonight. This one is definitely, I mean, the closest thing you're going to come to that's like it is Star Wars, and that's still leagues apart from this movie. And personally, back to the Jon Favreau thing, I don't think, I've never seen Jungle Book or The Lion King. That's just not my cup of tea. Everything else I've seen of him, I think he is a really good director. So I don't think anyone should worry about.
They're not bad films. It's just the rehashing. I know he gave his own spin to it, but it's just, I mean, it's just rehashing. But they weren't bad ones. I actually enjoyed his Jungle Book more than I did the original Disney one. But that's because that movie wasn't that great. Besides Bare Necessities, in my mind. But speaking of Robert Downey Jr., he was originally set to play a Union Army gunslinger named Zeke Jackson after he dropped out due to scheduling conflicts. The character was he worked into outlaw Jake Lonergan, who was played by Daniel Craig. The characters Dollarhide and Taggart were named as tribute to memorable movie villains, the Red Dragon from Red Dragon and Blazing Saddles. This movie got a little too deep for it to be taken seriously. I mean, they cited Alien and Predator as major influences on design. You know, thinking about it, that I just said that, it's just something that just came to mind. What would you think of Predator in the West, the Western Predator?
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd be game. I'd be game for that. Something different. You know what? It's different.
Yeah, because they have a new one called Badlands coming out this year in November, and I think I don't know where it's based, but there were a lot of people who were really pushing for a Predator film to be based in Japan, like Samurai Japan, which I think would be pretty badass too. But I wouldn't mind it in the Old West. That'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah.
But
we've talked so many times. I think what this movie was at the time was it was like, I love the West. I love aliens. We got them both.
What's that horrible you might like it, a Seth MacFarlane movie?
Again, that movie, the one with the Western one that he did.
Yeah.
It's not the best, but there are some laughs in it. Again, you know, I'm a big 3:10 to Yuma fan. So I mean, throw some aliens in that movie, and it's like, I'll take this, you know, but I'm a sucker for weird things that could possibly work, like Bubba Hotep.
Bubba Hotep, man, it's a classic.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't really hate Thousand Ways. I think it's A Million or Thousand Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah.
I hate that film, but you know, Seth MacFarlane, I'm not the biggest fan of Family Guy. I think you know he's talented, but as an actor, I just think he has like a weird face. I don't know. Something about him, like his face is kind of weird. I don't know why. It's just I've always thought this. Like when I've seen him, I'm like, whoa, something about him just kind of, I don't know.
That again, he's like, again, I'll compare him to like when Tarantino's in a film. To me, like I don't really like Tarantino wouldn't be my actor even in my own movie, but like he, you know, in like especially like a movie like Planet Terror, he's like plays this really creepy like army guard guy, and it's like, why did you have to cast him in this role? Because he's already just weird and not
well,
really,
I mean, it's Robert Rodriguez though.
But that's what it is. It's his friend who casted him in
Dos cervezas, por favor.
Yes.
And Desperado. Dos
Yes.
cervezas, por favor.
That's a great line too.
But yeah, Cowboys and Indians. I don't think it's horrible. I don't think it's good.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
It's enjoyable.
This will be the one that we will move on from after this. Which movie do you think would you rather watch on the big screen again tonight? Cowboys and Aliens or Crystal Skull?
Cowboys and Aliens.
Okay, I was just curious.
Because I think I had more
hope for Crystal Skull.
Well, I had more hope for Crystal Skull, but I think in terms of like surround sound, I think Cowboys and Aliens would be better to enjoyable. In terms of that aspect of a movie theater. Crystal Skull, I don't think Crystal Skull was great, but I don't hate it. I same thing with this one. I don't think this film was great. It wasn't great. I don't hate it. I'll watch it. It's enjoyable. Like I love movies though, but I can understand why it gets hate.
Do you think if Crystal Skull came out today, they'd release like one of those designer popcorn buckets, but it would be like a refrigerator?
Yeah. The fact that you survived a nuclear blast in the fridge, I always thought that was hilarious and cool at the same time. That got shit on a lot, man.
Your popcorn will stay non-stale for 3 weeks in this refrigerator. That's what they would say. And you'd be like, you liar. It'll be stale as soon as it is tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, man. That should be an episode. What could be a segment? What could be a popcorn
I like
popcorn
it.
thing?
I actually like that one.
But those are our Harrison Ford films. We went through some deep cuts some ones that you didn't expect, and some ones you did expect. Some final Harrison Ford info. He was nominated for one Oscar, which we said was for the film Witness. He did not win. He lost to Kiss the Spider Woman actor. I can't think of his name right now at the top of my head.
William Hurt.
William Hurt, thank you. He won one Golden Globe, but it was an honorary Golden Globe. But he has had 48 other wins and 61 other nominations from other awards. His films as an actor grossed, as a leading actor, have grossed $6.2 billion. As a lead ensemble actor, $2.2 billion. As a supporting actor, $2.2 billion. As a cameo, $97 million. As a narrator, $70,000. As an interviewee, $3,000. As an unclassified role, $16 million, and then in technical roles like executive producer, $81 million. So his total of all that added up is over $10.9 billion in terms of his gross. As how he's viewed by his peers on the set of Yellowstone prequel 1923, co-star Helen Mirren described Ford as such a bloke. Noted that all the other blokes absolutely love him, and quite rightfully. They just want to be in his company. This speaks to his friendly, approachable nature and the respect he garners among fellow actors. In Shrinking, Michael Urie humorously referred to Ford as a great up-and-comer, praising his dedication and likability on set despite his veteran status. And Ford has often stressed that he sees himself not as a movie star, but as an assistant storyteller, emphasizing collaboration and humanity over fame. Not sure if you mentioned this in the beginning, but he's phenomenal. Yes, we just talked about Shrinking right now. Yeah, it's a great show, Shrinking, TV series. Awesome show. He's getting up there, Tone. He's in his 80s. He's gonna be in his 80s, I believe. It's kind of sad when we do stuff like this because then I think about like how old they are, and I'm like, man, they're not gonna. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but I mean, they're not gonna be around too much longer. You know what I mean? It's like the stars of our generation are going. He's 82 years old right now. He still looks great. But with Gene Hackman going, and I always thought Gene Hackman would live forever.
Well, since you're talking about, I guess, downer news, I mean, did you hear the news today of the final rulings of Gene Hackman?
Yeah, so I've heard his wife passed before him.
Like a week?
Yeah, and
so that
died
means he was just walking around the house probably for a week, not eating, and just that's it. Which
he has Alzheimer's.
Which is crazy to think about because we're talking about Popeye Doyle here, and it's crazy that like nobody checked in or nobody there wasn't, but you just live in this huge mansion. That all being said, when these actors get old in their 80s, as you just said, that's why we got to honor them with watching these great movies because that's why we're here.
Will Harrison Ford ever play an old man in an old man role? Well, he did play Branch Rickey in 42. He was old there.
He was kind of old there.
I don't know. He's an old man in everything he does. Get off my plane. He was an old man there too. Back to Gene Hackman. When I found that out today, I was talking with my mom about this, and she had brought up, they had his daughter on, and she said that they had a good relationship, but she hadn't spoke to him in 3 months. Like, how the fuck are you not talking to your dad for 3 months? Like, he's 95 years old. Don't you think you want to talk to them and spend as much time with them as you can, or at least
that same thing to Katie. I go, okay, good relationship. Like, oh, me and you, we got a good relationship. Haven't talked to you in 4 months. Like a text, a hello, not an F you.
I mean, like my mom fucking texts me every day. Like I live with her. Like we live with her. We all stay in the same house. Like,
you don't talk to somebody for multiple months. You may have what's called a cordial relationship, but you don't have what's called a good relationship by anything. And definitely, again, back to Gene Hackman, he's got 3 children, 3, and not one of them. But, this is exactly, sadly,
Yeah, unless he was horrible to them as kids, I don't know. Like to me, that's this
is what I think of. This is kind of when I hear this story. This is how I feel. Here's a little clip from Dumb and Dumber. That's what I think of when they say something like that, you know? I mean, because generally it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and C McD says takes less than a minute to text. Yeah, man. I mean, it's your parents, especially if they're that old. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna go into like a full.
At the show would have quit their jobs just to go and take care of him if that they needed a caretaker.
Yeah, I mean, I have family stuff
for
that
no pay for nothing. I would do it for no
that
pay.
we took a week off our show for, and it was serious, but not that serious to a point where like the person wasn't fucking 95 and old. Like, I don't know, man. People check on your loved ones. That's all I can say about
Doesn't
that.
take long.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. Check on your loved ones. We're gonna skip our coming soon segment. We'll be releasing it this week on the Twitters. What we're gonna do, we still got some things in the can we want to go over and see what we're gonna do. We might do a deep dive, we might do 5 and 5. We're still undecided on what we're gonna do for that. Also, I want to bring back a segment next week with one of our regular guests. But before we go into the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week, just want to say thank you guys for listening, tuning in, and watching us while we were on our little hiatus for 2 weeks, as well as coming back and watching us these past 2 weeks. Tony, let everybody know what's going on in the Hook Up on Musical, man.
Tomorrow we are going to have a brand new show dropping, which is going to be awesome. But again, sadly, talking about a couple sad passings. The final original member of Badfinger has passed away. We're also going to dig into some awesome new albums that are going to be coming up right around the corner. We're going to dig into some heavy. We're going to talk about Wu-Tang Clan coming to town. We got a lot of cool stuff we're going to be talking about, and that's going to be dropping tomorrow afternoon sometime. So look out.
Yes, it'll be dropping tomorrow afternoon. I would definitely check that out. I guess we're becoming the depressing podcast. We just talked about Gene Hackman passing away, and now we're talking about more people passing away.
Everyone, honestly, there's been, and it's like, would you know, we're not going to talk about this guy badly. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what you try to do is spin it in a way where it's like, look at all
It's
these
positive
awesome
celebration,
movies.
but that Gene Hackman
Sad,
shit just
sad
kind of
stuff.
pissed me off at the end.
Oh,
That's just me being me. But before we go, shout out to Baloney, who was in the comments, and Sam Reeves, who was also in the comments, and they are regular viewers and contributors and friends. I guess they are in the 108 tournament this year. So if you are on Twitter, give those guys votes along with the other bums. I haven't looked at the brackets to see where everybody is. I know Baloney's a 1 seed, and I know Sam's, and I think Sam actually made it past the second round by default, which is awesome because he always loses in the first round. But if you guys are on Twitter, give them some votes and show them some love during that tournament. So shout out to them. And then Magnificent Stan, aka Brian, will be back, I believe, next week. Tony, he's taking a hiatus. He's kind of really, really busy at work. Work is getting all of us. I did drop a blog on one of our favorite films, Black Rain. A quick read if you want to check it out on our Sadistic Penguin Studios website. We got some, Sam says I need a handout. We got some good stuff coming up. As you can see, Cotton, I'm trying to drag this out a little bit more with the Sugar Baggy soundtrack pick of the week so we can get to that 2-hour mark, and we're almost there for you. But check those stuff out. Thank you again for watching. And with that, further ado, let's get into the Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
The Sugar Baggies soundtrack pick of the week.
Tonight, deep cut film, deep cut soundtrack, Velvet Goldmine. The movie was released back in 1998, and it starred Ewan McGregor, Christian Bale, Toni Collette, and Jonathan Rhys-Meyer. It is pretty much about the 1970s glam rock scene, but the soundtrack itself came out in November 3rd of 98, and it is a huge soundtrack, 19 songs, okay, with lots of different performances by T-Rex, who we will also be talking about at the show tomorrow, but Lou Reed, Roxy Music, a really awesome band that I remember watching on MTV a long time ago, Shudder to Think. I don't know if you've ever listened to Placebo before, but they had some hits in the late 90s, early 2000s. They're on the soundtrack. The movie is a really good kind of a background to kind of like the whole David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, just the overall that how it felt back then. And honestly, it's cool also to see in this early performance, Christian Bale and Ewan McGregor, who definitely are playing roles that you definitely don't see them playing. And so it's definitely an interesting watch, and a lot of cool 1970s glam rock music, some cool covers. Really worth checking out if you have not.
Yeah, definitely check it out. This is one of the few films I have not seen that everybody's always telling me to go see. It's just very, very hard to find this film.
Oh yeah.
For me. But I've heard the soundtrack is awesome. Tone, the stuff we're talking about here is awesome. It's glam rock film. It has to do a lot with the identity from what I read about in terms of like yourself and what it goes into glam rock, sexuality, stuff like that. Really interesting. I do want to check it out. If you guys know where for me to watch it, let me know, or where to buy it. I will definitely buy it to watch it. But great pick, Tone.
It's again trying to bring different things to the forefront. $3.59 on Amazon Prime if you get the opportunity to rent, or I don't know how much it is to buy. I think that might even be to buy, but it's on Apple TV.
Awesome.
But it's a good music one, and honestly, it's crazy again, Christian Bale, just to see his transformation as an actor, and Ewan McGregor. Honestly, I think both of them are really great actors, and you love music. Very awesome.
Yeah, very, very awesome film. That I'm going to watch it now. I might watch it tonight to close out my night. But that's our show, Tone. We made it over the 2-hour mark just for you, buddy. And Tony, like Tony says, what's our tagline, Tone? We're like John Holmes.
Yeah.
He loved that little tagline you gave. But I
we go
really
deep.
enjoyed.
We go deep.
I really enjoy doing these deep dives into these films and whatnot. We'll be having a release of what we're going to be doing next week, but there was no mini show this week. Depending on the news, if there's something big that comes out, we might have to go to some video game news or TV show news to see what we can find for the mini show. But if it's like a slow news cycle week, usually we won't do it because, I mean, you don't want us just too rambling on unless you do. just ramble on. But thank you so much. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't. We're trying to hit that watch time to get our channel monetized. We're almost there. We're close. But thank you guys again for all our supporters and everybody who watched it, because we do it for you. And we hope you have a great end of the week. And we'll see you next week.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to the At the Show podcast, a Sadistic Penguin Studios production.
Game over, man. It's game over. What the fuck are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do?
Maybe we could build a fire, sing a couple of songs, huh? Why don't we try that?